Well, yesterday I painted a picture of the economic indicators, unemployment and GDP, worsening before they get better, Laura. It's Treasury's forecast that while we saw unemployment fall in February to 5.1% as a result of COVID-19, unemployment will increase to 10% or more by the June quarter. At the same time, GDP will fall by 10%. Now, Australia is not alone in seeing such a large economic shock, but as you know, with our JobKeeper package at $130 billion, it's providing support to millions of Australian workers, helping to keep that formal connection with employers and employees, as well as our many other programs that have seen more than $20 billion go out to the economy in the last few weeks. So I think the economy will bounce back. But I think it's going to be challenging.
JobKeeper payments, as you say, flow from today. Almost 5 million employees will get it through their employers, but it's still 1 million short of what you predicted when you first announced this package. Why is that?
Well, employers have to the 8th of this month to pay their employees and still be eligible for those payments under the JobKeeper program, and that is what they are doing. We've made some amendments as a result of some feedback from stakeholders, and I'm sure that number that we've seen today of more than 725,000 businesses officially register, representing more than 4.7 million employees, I think that number will increase. But it is a good sign that there's been strong take-up, and in the ABS survey data, it showed that around a half of those businesses who are taking up JobKeeper have been influenced to keep their staff on as a result. So it's actually working as intended.
Do you expect, though, in the 2 days that employers have to sign up to JobKeeper, that you will get 1 million more employees under this scheme, or is that a little too ambitious?
Well, the exact numbers will just play out, but I think the fact that nearly 5 million workers have been covered already by the JobKeeper package is very significant. Don't forget too that we had a 30 billion plus program to support small business with cash flow assistance, and that money is now already making its way into people's pockets. 1 million Australians have sought early access to their superannuation tax-free, and that's a significant amount of money that's flowing to the economy, as well as more than 6 million Australians on income support have received their $750 cash payments as well. So there is significant government support, in fact, a support at a level that we've never seen before in this country.
Will the JobKeeper payment then cost the government less than you first anticipated, or because there hasn't been quite the 6 million take-up, do you have scope to perhaps tinker around the edges and extend that to employees that haven't quite been eligible under the original architecture?
Well, I mean, let's not forget that it is a program available to full-time, to part-time, to casuals who have been connected with their employer for 12 months or more. And in that case, we've based it on an established definition in the legislation, the Fair Work Act. And at the same time, you've also got sole traders and the not-for-profit sector being able to access this program. So it's a broad range of stakeholders and businesses and employees who are going to benefit from this program, and I think that's appropriate.
So there's no scope to broaden it, perhaps to casual employers that have been employed for 12 months but not with the same employer?
Well, we've been pretty clear about the broad parameters of the program, and that's where it's staying.
By my calculation, if only around 5 million people have signed up or are eligible under the JobKeeper plan, it might cost the government about $20 billion less. Is that about right?
Again, these are demand-driven programs. The actual final number will be totalled up and spelt out at budget, no doubt as part of our broader economic costings and forecasts, but it is a significant amount of money already that has been committed across the economy, and will do what is necessary to ensure that businesses can stay in businesses and employees can stay in jobs. And if you look at our success on the health side, flattening the curve with one of the highest testing rates in the world and one of the lowest mortality rates in the world, we've now become the envy for many other countries as to our progress and our success on the health front. As with the economic front, our goal is to ensure that the restrictions are lifted as soon as possible based on the medical advice. And yesterday I outlined in the press club, Laura, how for every extra week these restrictions stay in place, we lose $4 billion worth of economic activity.
Yeah.
And that's not an insignificant amount, and that's the economic imperative of getting people back to work.
I have one more crack here. If you don't meet that $6 million target, 6 million employee target that would be covered under the JobKeeper program, what happens with that money that you've set aside? Will you redeploy that elsewhere in terms of re-kick-starting the economy in terms of your COVID response?
Well, it's treated as any other demand-driven program. We make provisions for expenditures and obviously forecasts around revenue, and then we total it up twice a year at the mid-year economic and fiscal outlook, which was pre-Christmas, and then at budget time, which was obviously scheduled for next week, but that has been postponed to October, bearing in mind the uncertainty around economic forecasts and the volatility at this time. And that was a prudent decision that was taken by the government, and also reflected decisions that were taken at a state level with respect to their own budgets.
Let me ask you about JobSeeker now, Treasurer. Are there any circumstances in which that payment would be extended?
Well, we've said it's a supplement to obviously what was the old New Start, the JobSeeker supplement, the coronavirus supplement, and at $550, it's going to provide a much needed support to the additional people who are coming onto this program. But like all our measures, Laura, it's been guided by our principles, and our principles have meant that these programs have been targeted, that they've been temporary, that they've used existing systems and have been proportionate to the challenge. So the goal is that once the restrictions are being lifted, once the economy is back on track, then we can actually get back to life as normal, where people are in jobs and don't need that level of extra income support. Does
life as normal mean that you will be returning to the New Start payment as it was, or is there a consideration? Are you looking at increasing that payment indefinitely?
Well, we've said that the programs and the announcements that we've made, including that $550 supplement, are temporary, and that's consistent with the announcements that we made at the time, but also with the need to ensure that our programs, our additional spending programs, don't go for a day longer than they have to. And I think that's really important when you consider there is no money tree at the back of the parliamentary garden. There is nowhere we can go and just prune off a few extra dollar bills and throw them around. We have to ensure that our spending is very targeted, that Australia lives within its means, and the fact that we went into this crisis with a strong economic position, with a debt to GDP ratio of a quarter of that in the US and the UK, has meant that we've been able to spend in a way that other countries cannot. But it also means that we should not be spending more than we absolutely have to.